UFC takes that are true, but no one can accept them. Connor days are over.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true. I think I'm sold on the fact that Islam and Connor are gonna fight at some point.
The script is leaked.
It's gonna happen. Maybe if we ever film the video booking Connor's return, then I'll tell you about my personal opinion on what he's gonna do. But I think that he's gonna fight a Dazakhstani man named either Islam or Habib in the future.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think his days are over. It's Michael Chandler or bust.
Future bare knuckle 3 division champion.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Doesn't he own that corporation?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he can do whatever he wants.
True. The matchmaking is gonna go crazy in that one.
All right. Tony Ferguson was never that good. He fought mediocre competition in his entire win streak, and Habib would have demolished him completely.
I think half of that's true, half that isn't. I think the first half, Tony Ferguson was never that good, is not true. He had great striking. He had great heart. I mean, he was winning that fight against Justin Gaethje, and that was the beginning of his downfall. So if you imagine that he beat Justin Gaethje, how that might have changed his career, it's what could have been. He definitely was not bad. He was top level in the lightweight division, but I do agree that Habib would have demolished him. I mean, he did it to everyone. How can you not agree with that?
Yeah, it's just he got chinned and then he just went downhill. And at the beginning of his win streak, he was still fighting good opponents. It's not like it's not like the end of it now where he's losing to Michael Chiesa and King Green. There are some good fighters at the end of his losing streak, like Paddy Pimblett, like future champion material there. So
I don't know about that, but he's a good fighter for sure. Out of the top lightweights, Chandler has the best shot against Makhachev.
I think I can name 5. I think Charles has a better shot. Even though we've seen him, I think he's better than Chandler. Chandler hasn't fought in a while, and I don't think he's that good. I think Arman has a better shot. I would say Dan Hooker.
Gamrot.
After what I just saw there, Gamrot has a better shot. Come on, give me one more.
Gaethje.
Yeah, Gaethje, because Gaethje could
Dustin.
punch KO power. Dustin didn't look bad.
There's 6
guys at least, and we haven't even gone that deep. I think, that's cap. Izzy and Alex thrived in MMA because of the same reason. 185 and above didn't have elite wrestling heavy fighters when they were competing.
True. I think that's definitely true. I think if you put them in a division like lightweight or featherweight where it takes more skill, you have to be more well-rounded. You have to defend takedowns a little bit better, and you don't have that one-punch KO chance. I think it changes a lot. But I do also think that Alex and Izzy kind of exposed that higher weight class where you can be an extremely high-level kickboxer and learn one very small discipline of takedown defense and call it a day.
I think you got to take this tweet with a grain of salt. Izzy and Pereira are elite kickboxers, and they've shown that. But they thrived because of that. But, they wouldn't have gotten to the level that they are now of being I'd say that they're both borderline generational fighters. If there were more wrestlers, they might have had a few more losses, but I still do think that they both become champions, even if there are wrestlers in their division.
I also think that when Pereira was coming up in the UFC, it's no secret that he got preferential treatment, and he still does, because they want to make that massive fight with Izzy. So it's if he's someone like a Bilal Muhammad who doesn't have exciting performances, they're not going to give him a fast track to the title. That's just the way it goes. So if he had to go through as many fights as Bilal did to get to a title, I think he would have picked up more losses. And it's just a matter of the fact that he's an exciting fighter and he had that rivalry straight to the title. Bilal will end up with several title defenses.
No. If we're counting, what is several? 2 or 3?
3.
No. I don't think Bilal beats... He could beat one of these guys, but I don't see him beating 2 or 3 of these guys. I don't think he beats Shavkat. I don't think he beats JDM. I think those are the 2 guys that I would take every day to beat Bilal. I also don't think he beats Ian Gary by the time Ian Gary gets to that title picture. I think if we have a Leon rematch where with maybe if they fought in America, and Leon didn't look right in that fight. I think you also have Usman, who's up there, who could contend. Like, I just think that the top of welterweight is so strong, and these guys are just getting better and better every fight outside of Leon and Usman, that him to end up with several title defenses is going to be tough, especially with how good the striking on Shavkat and JDM is.
I think it's possible. It's definitely possible with how dominant he looked against Leon. Obviously, Leon doesn't have the best wrestling, and he looked very slow and lethargic in that fight. But Bilal is getting trained with Khabib and those fighters, and you think about how dominant their wrestling and their style is. Even though it's boring, it worked. So I think he could have a chance at beating Shavkat. He would beat Usman. I think he's fresher and he has more energy in Usman in all areas right now, especially in the wrestling, maybe not the striking. But if Usman gets that title shot after winning against a contender, he beats Usman, maybe Shavkat, and then JDM. It's a toss-up. It's so hard to tell how good those top guys are because JDM has only realistically beat Gilbert Burns. That's the only time where we've seen him, and he was losing the fight until he got that KO.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It is possible because stylistically he could have a little bit of an advantage over the strikers, but those young guys are good.
Yeah, well, think about Leon. Didn't he have 2 or 3 title defenses?
Leon had
2.
2. Yeah.
It's not like he was a generational talent.
The sport will be better when Conor McGregor retires officially.
I think on one hand, yes, because fans will stop with the hopium of him coming back. But on the other hand, there's nothing like a Conor McGregor fight. So much hype. He gets great KOs, and the press conferences are unreal. So on one hand, it'll be better because people stop thinking about it and they can actually accept being excited for other big matchups. But on the other hand, it's going to be sad when he doesn't fight anymore.
I think that I disagree here just because the eyes Conor McGregor brings. We saw what happened with 303 when it was proposed that he was going to fight on that card. Not having him be there means he goes to bare knuckle potentially more. Like he's out in bare knuckle, like doing more promoting there. Who knows, maybe he's fighting there. It takes some eyes away from UFC. So I think that UFC is better off with Conor McGregor still technically active.
This fight is the right fight to make. Stipe versus Jon Jones.
It is the right fight.
What? Are you serious?
Because Jon Jones wouldn't fight Tom Aspinall. From Dana's perspective, he knows that Jon Jones loses to Tom Aspinall, or there's a chance he does, where Jon Jones can come out there and beat the heavyweight GOAT, add it to his resume, and solidify himself as the GOAT. It's hard to say it, but Aspinall versus Jones is the fight we all want to see. But it's not the right fight. It tarnishes Jon Jones' legacy. I mean, Jon Jones isn't the perfect person to have as the GOAT of a sport, given his history, but I don't know. I would rather see him go out on top than go down on his back.
I think it definitely is not the right fight to make. I think with an interim champion, you have to be giving that shot to an interim champ, Tom Aspinall. Obviously, it's kind of a weird situation where you got injured and then try and rebook it, and it's just taking forever. Stipe hasn't fought in 4 years, or hasn't won in 4 years, I think. So yeah, it's just a weird fight to make, and I think the fans are over it. I don't know if Dana knows that the fans are over it, or if he's just telling himself that people want to see this. But I think 90% of people would agree that we want to see Tom Aspinall more than Stipe.
Wrestling and just laying on your opponent is not winning a fight.
True.
Wrestling and laying on your opponent are 2 different things.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're Shamil the Blob Gaziev, it's like you're not, especially heavyweights. You see this a lot. They get in the UFC and they don't actually have any real talent in a lot of the areas. They can just lay and pray. But at the same time, if that's the only thing the judges are scoring, like if there's no striking from the other opponent, what else are you scoring? Like you have to give the fight to the wrestler or the person who's just laying on top, because technically they are controlling the fight. So it is winning a fight. It's not exciting, or it's not how you want people to win a fight.
I think that wrestling your opponent is winning the fight. You know, if you're dominating the wrestling standpoint, I think that that's like clear like dominance in the fight. I think laying on your opponent is like technically you're controlling the fight, but you're not actively controlling the fight. Like you might win the round.
Okay,
But
let me ask you this. If someone lands a clean right hook compared to the opponent getting a takedown, but the person stands up right away again, what counts as more in the judge's eyes?
I would count I'm not a judge, but I would show that the damage from the clear right hook does more.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Fighters get paid what they deserve.
Ooh. I think that they do, but I don't agree necessarily with like the fighter bonuses is what I want to talk about more here. I think that Dana's perception of performance of the night is like entertainment performance of the night, like what's going to get you the most views on social media, when it may not be what the actual performance of the night is. Like basically performance of the night is whoever gets the quickest KO. It's basically what it is.
Well, kind of. I think it's obviously KOs are more exciting, but if you have an absolute war like Dustin versus Islam and submits in the 4th or 5th round, they're getting that fight of the night.
But performance of the night is different than fight of the night.
Right.
You know, like you're not going to give Usyk versus Kai Kara France fight of the night, but it was performance of the night by Kai Kara France. But I also think at the same time is that those entertaining fights and entertaining KOs are making you more money than, I mean, a dominant wrestling performance. So, I mean, the money is in the KOs, so Dana's got the money. He gets to do whatever he wants. Leon Edwards is one of the most boring fighters ever.
Agree. I think that he got carried for a long time by that Usman KO. If you look at his fights before that, they weren't very exciting. It was a lot of point fighting. And if you look at his fights after that, the second Usman fight and then the Colby fight, especially the Colby fight, when you have someone who comments on your family and you don't go out there and try and get a finish, because Colby was not fighting back at all. That was a really poor performance from both of them. And so I think that he's an extremely boring champion, but he's not one of the most boring fighters ever.
I think that Leon, in a very casual viewing perspective, is boring. But I think when you look more at like what he does when he fights is very interesting, because he is so technically sound, but he's also, with that, he's so conservative when he fights.
Mighty Mouse was never a big star, and Joe Rogan made him popular.
Oh, that's tough. Like, I think that Mighty Mouse was a star as a flyweight, and in the UFC he was a star, but he didn't have the name value until Joe Rogan started to glaze him a little bit.
And I think especially after he got that crazy submission like midair when he locked in the armbar, I think that clip propelled him, because only time that's ever happened, and you have to have just an incredible amount of skill for that. And of course, Joe Rogan, with how much influence he has, that helps massively.
But he also is the most marketed flyweight of all time, and they were actually able to market a flyweight for once. Like, you look at Pantoja, gets no marketing, and Demetrius Johnson got a lot more marketing and is considered a top 3 fighter of all time.
Yeah, that's all we have. Shout out to ACD MMA for this Twitter thread, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.